Everybody says, backup quarterback, all he does is hold the clipboard. But they play.
Who's the backup quarterback?
You're either going to relieve someone when he's hurt, or you're going to come in because he's not playing well. So pressure's on you.
You're one snap away. Stay ready.
I think backup quarterback's the best job in the entire world. You have like a 15-year career.
All right, old man.
So you get the girls because you are on the team in theory, right?
I love having you in this role you're in.
Everybody loves you, especially in Philly. Backup quarterback in Philly is always the best player in the league.
What a position to be in. Then you get called upon. You got to perform.
Now we'll get Jeff Hostetler.
That's what your dream is as a backup quarterback, is to get your opportunity and to turn it into something bigger.
A career backup quarterbacks his team to a Super Bowl victory.
There are many levels of being a backup quarterback. You can't just say backup. You have to look behind the label.
The backups on our list fall under a few different categories.
Who's your backup?
There are former starters who were once on top, but then revitalized their careers as backups.
It was very shocking because he didn't even seem like the same player.
There are young quarterbacks waiting for their chance to be the starter.
You never knew how good they were going to be.
And then there are career backups, players who played second fiddle until they got their chance and delivered.
He would come off the bench and just make it happen.
No matter what, every quarterback that made our list was a backup who delivered big when his number was called.
I love you, baby. I love you.
The number 10 backup quarterback of all time, Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer, wait a minute. Now, he was a #1 overall draft choice for crying out loud. He got all that money as a starter, and then you're considering him a backup?
Actually, Boomer, he was drafted 6th overall. And yes, he had some success in Tampa.
Touchdown, Tampa Bay! Perfect throw, Dilfer!
But Dilfer was released by the Bucs in 2000 and signed as a backup with the Baltimore Ravens.
The year the Ravens won the Super Bowl, he was the backup quarterback to start the season. Tony Banks was the starter.
Sometimes when you don't get handed over the keys to the car, you're a little put out by it. He wasn't put out by it. He just kept doing whatever he could do to make the team better. And then when he got handed over the keys,
You got to let Trent try to do something here now.
he was ready to do the best he could.
Trent Dilfer. Well, I'll be.
Our number 10 backup led the Ravens to 7 straight wins and the franchise's first playoff berth.
And he's got it. Touchdown.
We just needed a leader. We didn't have one voice on that offensive side, and I think Trent gave us that voice.
Oh, I'm making the play to win the game. Don't worry.
Dilfer rolling out to his right. Throwing. Touchdown. Pack your bags, Baltimore. The Ravens are going to the Super Bowl.
Trent, all the way, baby, all right? We're counting on you, Trent.
Dilfer took the Ravens to a Super Bowl, but he's only number 10 on our list because he didn't get much credit. Why?
Well, it's Ray's fault.
Get off the field.
Ray, Rod Woodson, Tony Saragusa. We had a lot of good players on defense. So you just didn't want to screw it up.
He was there to manage the game.
Manage the game.
Manage the game.
Write a book called How to Win Ugly in the NFL.
You know, everybody said, all Trent did was manage a game. Well, that's what you're supposed to do, for crying out loud. That's the job of the quarterback.
In Super Bowl 35, our number 10 backup was out to prove that the Ravens' offense could hold its own.
We needed some points from the offense. We needed them to step up to the plate and get a touchdown or two. And once they got to the Super Bowl, I mean, they exploded.
Dilfer throwing deep down the middle for Stokely. He's got it. Touchdown. That pass was gorgeous. And the Ravens are the champions of the world.
Probably without Trent stepping up to the plate, we don't win the Super Bowl.
Dilfer served as a backup for 3 other teams, but never reached another Super Bowl.
Hey, I'm not going to put you in.
I would hope not.
Okay?
3 minutes.
I'm not going to send you in to kneel down.
So does he really belong on our list?
We always say that your guy isn't a great quarterback till he can win a Super Bowl. Well, when a guy wins a Super Bowl, you can't say, well, he isn't that good.
Yeah, let's respect Trent Dilfer, man. I mean, everybody says, worst quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl. Which I guess, mathematically speaking, there has to be one, right? I mean, if you're going to do a list. Just kidding, Trey.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
He may not have been Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, but he got the ring.
These second stringers may have gotten their big break as a result of the starters' bad break, but they couldn't crack our list of backups.
The crowd is holding its collective breath.
When George Shaw broke his leg in 1956, the Colts turned to a former Sandlot star who stepped in and never looked back.
Johnny Unitas gives the Chicago Bears a lesson in the art of forward passing.
After a broken finger sidelined Pat Hayden in 1979, Vince Ferragamo led the Rams to the promised land.
The Rams are in the Super Bowl as NFC champions.
And who could forget Matt Castle?
Here's a kid that hadn't won since high school, never started in college.
That's, to me, a backup. It's thrust into a starting situation and does the job.
That's the way it's going to be, Castle. Then we're riding your shoulders.
While Castle's fill-in job was admirable, it pales in comparison to that of the man he replaced.
Seriously.
You just want to throw so you can get on TV, huh?
Yeah. Tom Brady's going to go down as one of the great quarterbacks of all time.
Back-to-back. 3 out of 4.
So he's not a backup.
Sure, the bulk of Brady's success has been as a starter, but he's our number 9 backup because of the job he did coming off the bench in 2001. He didn't just save a season, he saved a franchise.
New quarterback for the New England Patriots is Tom Brady. He's a rookie from Michigan. He was picked in the 6th round.
His rookie year, his job was to throw me interception on the look team.
I can't stand it. Run it again. Huddle up and run it again, Brady.
Look, you never want to throw an interception. 2nd and 1.
Tom Brady does not deserve to be considered on that list of great backup quarterbacks of all time because when he was a backup, he wasn't great.
I got a chance to play the first time that year against Detroit on Thanksgiving Day.
Well, here comes Tom Brady, quarterback for Drew Bledsoe.
I only threw 3 passes again. One of them almost got intercepted, run the other way.
Brady can throw it from the side. If it's thrown on target, it's gone. Tom Brady coming in. Let me tell you, this kid's nervous. He is nervous.
In week 2 of the 2001 season, life for Brady and the Patriots changed forever.
Bledsoe deep drop. Now rolls to the right.
New England Patriots fans bless Mo Lewis every day that they can.
It was the hardest hit I've ever heard.
No disrespect to Tom, but without Drew getting hurt, he would have never seen the field.
Bledsoe was eventually ready to return that season, but Brady had played so well, Drew was now the backup.
That's it. All right, good decision, Tom. Good decision, buddy.
Tom Brady turns out to be something that no one thought that he could be.
36 seconds left. Brady drives him 60 yards. Foxborough loves Tom Brady. Brady!
The team begins to play around him. They begin to respond.
Starts to run with it. He is down to the 5, and he's in. Touchdown, Tom Brady. That's some great comebacks.
All of a sudden, you're breathing a whole different kind of air.
It may have been amateur hour in the pregame tunnel, but Brady's performance in Super Bowl 36 was definitely ready for prime time.
Brady drops back to throw. Looks. Touchdown, David Pep!
I don't know how you can do better than that as a backup. You know, look at the guy. He hadn't shaved yet.
Go 12. You're the man, David. You are the man.
His story, going from backup to starter, is one of the greats of all time.
The number 8 backup quarterback of all time, Doug Williams.
Doug Williams is number 8.
Another Fugazi backup.
I think he should be higher than number 8 on the list, honestly. I mean, the Doug Williams story is just an amazing story on multiple levels. He came out of Grambling and was seen by the Buccaneers as the franchise quarterback. And indeed, he took it to the NFC Championship game one year.
Williams floats one out to Giles. He's got a touchdown!
But then things went bad, and the team sort of fell apart. The crowd turned on him, and he wound up leaving Tampa, jumping to the USFL.
But 2 years later, the USFL folded, and Williams was out of a job. That's when Joe Gibbs, his old offensive coordinator in Tampa, picked up the phone.
He called me to let me know that they were interested, and could I come to Washington to be a backup quarterback. I said, Coach, I don't have a job, so I can be any up, back up or first up or whatever up you want me to be.
When the 1987 season began, our number 8 backup was stuck behind Jay Schrader on the depth chart.
Jay was a player with a lot of talent, but he was very erratic. And in the 87 season, Gibbs lifted him in a couple of games.
They put Doug Williams into the game.
And Doug, each time, came in and led the team to wins.
Doug Williams going deep over the middle. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
The one thing that impressed me about Doug Williams, this guy could come off the bus and throw strikes. He didn't need a lot of warm-up time.
What a great pass by Doug Williams.
He was undefeated as a relief pitcher during the regular season, but didn't win a start. So that's kind of what made the decision to start him in the playoffs a pretty gutsy call by Joe Gibbs.
Over the next 3 weeks, Williams made his coach look like a genius, guiding the Skins to Super Bowl 22.
Williams looking right, fires it into the end zone. Touchdown. The Washington Redskins are the National Football Conference champions.
Here was Doug Williams, who hadn't started many games during the year. Here he goes to start in the Super Bowl.
The first black quarterback to start in the game, all the pressure that comes along with that.
And then he has a game for the ages.
Williams going up top. Got Sanders on the fly at midfield. He's gone. Williams, the pass. He's got Clark at the goal line. He's got it. He's got Sanders in the clear at the 10. Touchdown, Washington Redskins.
5 straight possessions, 5 touchdowns. Bang, 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 bang.
I mean, it's like the Mardi Gras. Oh, look at that play. Oh, look at that touchdown.
Williams lobs it into the end zone. He's got Didier. Touchdown. Holy cow. We are seeing a virtuoso performance.
Our number 8 backup played 2 more seasons with Washington, but couldn't duplicate his Super Bowl success. So, is he really worthy of our number 8 spot?
What stands out the most about Doug Williams is the Super Bowl. I don't know that without that, there'd be a lot to remember about his career. Probably was a bit of a one-hit wonder.
There you go, man. There you go, Doug.
Is it a fluky game? No, because Doug Williams had talent.
A lot of great history is flukes. So whether it was a fluke or not, who knows? But Doug Williams made the most of his chance.
You have to go all the way back to the days of the Bush administration. No, that Bush administration, to revisit Brett Favre's days as a backup.
He looked like a 3-year project, and I was working on a 2-year contract.
It seemed a little chancy that we would take one of our first-round draft picks and trade for a third-string quarterback.
First impression, this is going to be a project.
Don Mikowski's ankle injury in 1992 allowed the raw backup to lead a 21-point comeback and seize the starting job.
And the Packers win it, 24-23.
The rest is history. Brett has never missed a game since.
During his streak of consecutive starts, Favre has set career records for attempts, completions, touchdowns, and future starters relegated to clipboard duty.
Put her in the old vice. The number 7 backup quarterback of all time, Brett Favre's backups.
If you just wanted to collect a paycheck, get years in for your pension and everything, be Brett Favre's backup.
There's like a Favre quarterback tree where all these guys were stockpiled beneath him.
They're only number 7, the group that played behind Brett Favre. That's a really strong group.
Looks big hit right there.
Every backup that's been in Green Bay.
We got 3 jet flanker drives deep at 4.
They don't get a chance to practice. They don't play. He takes every snap.
I don't want you taking sacks, okay?
You thought I was taller than this, huh?
I thought you were taller than me. How about Mr. Miyagi coming up talking to me?
Pat Morita was joined on those sidelines by a pair of Super Bowl champions, 3 Heisman winners, a handful of journeymen, and a whole bunch of first-round busts. And while the emphasis at our number 7 spot is more about quantity than quality, there are a select few who have managed to stand out from the pack.
These guys must have just rubbed up against the Favre greatness and were able to take it with them on whatever their next stops were.
Well, you're out there real cold. Just think of me. I'll be right by that heater over there.
We knew Brunell was going to be good.
Mark Brunell is now in place of Brett Favre.
He came from the Packers at a time when the Packers were a quarterback factory.
Mark and Brett really had a little competition one year.
I want to know, when do we compete?
This Mark Brunell is a pretty good-looking player. He can zip that thing pretty good.
It never really got to the point where we seriously considered putting Mark in.
Make the switch. Put in the other quarterback. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. But you know what? He's got to know he's not here.
Brunell was eventually traded to Jacksonville and led the Jags to 2 AFC title games. But as a starter, he never did manage to defeat the man he once backed up.
That was a hard-fought one right there. Good job, buddy. Look old. I am old.
Everybody gets to ask you about what a great mentor Favre is, and you have to lie.
He was great to me. I learned a lot from him. I mean, I was on the practice squad. He could have just been like, whatever, pal.
If I'm throwing it to the left, I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hasselbeck, backup quarterback, touchdown!
Because of the person he played behind in Green Bay, never got much of a chance to play.
Hasselbeck made the most of his opportunity as a starter.
We're going to play in the Super Bowl!
But in head-to-head matchups, he's gone just 1-5 against his mentor.
When will you be ready to take over the Packer offense?
Well, ASAP, I think, for me.
Hasselbeck probably has the best body of work, but I think Aaron Rodgers is the best of the bunch to come out from behind him.
This is the start of a new era. Aaron Rodgers takes over at quarterback.
I don't think the Packers have missed Favre. They had gone out and they had drafted Aaron Rodgers. They felt he was ready to play. He's turned out to be a Pro Bowl player.
What a play by Aaron Rodgers.
Rodgers may have led Green Bay to the playoffs in 2009, but like his backup brethren, he just couldn't defeat that familiar face.
Brett Favre is destroying his former team.
Aaron Rodgers filled his shoes quite well, but Brett Favre got the last laugh.
Yes!
Number 6 backup quarterback of all time, Frank Reich.
I always knew that I could trust him. I always knew that he had my back.
The backup career of our number 6 quarterback actually started in college.
Well, Frank was my backup for 3 years at the University of Maryland, and he was one of those confidants that I could always rely on.
The year after Esiason left Maryland, his college roommate was the backup as the Terps fell behind the Miami Hurricanes 31-0 at halftime.
They were playing so poorly that I turned the game off at halftime.
Reich entered the game in the second half and went on to lead the biggest comeback in college football history.
I came back and they said, "You're not going to believe it. Maryland came back and your college roommate Frank Reich went in there and had this great game." And I had to tell him that I turned it off because I didn't think he was going to play.
He gets to the NFL, he's the caddy for Jim Kelly, and he's never going to overcome that.
Backed up Jim Kelly, but he had a couple moments, which if you're a backup player, backup quarterback, that's the best you can hope for.
Kelly is hurt. He is hurt horribly.
On you, Frankie J. It's on your back, baby. Let's do it.
Frank Reich had become an overnight hero in his first NFL start, and he would carry a magic touch through 2 more weeks of guiding the Bills' offense.
When Frank got his chance, what Frank showed was that he actually was a very talented player, and it was a revelation to so many fans. His popularity started to just soar, and then there were polls taken who should be the starting quarterback of the Bills. Frank was winning those things.
You know we're going to win today because Kelly's hurting today. Frank Reich's going to take us to the promised land.
As much as I like Frank Reich, probably not gifted enough throwing the football to be a starter for 16 weeks. He was not as good a quarterback as Jim Kelly.
In the 1992 season finale, Buffalo lost to Houston and lost Jim Kelly to injury. The following week, they would rely on Frank Reich to beat the Oilers in the playoffs.
Move into the end zone, got a touchdown.
The lights are on here at Rich Stadium. They've been on since this morning. You can pretty much turn them out on the Bills right now.
And I was a guest host for NBC. I say, folks, don't turn the TV off because I did this once to Frank Reich and he came back and won the game.
8 years ago, I learned my lesson. And to that day, I swore that I would never turn off the game as long as Frank Reich is playing.
Hey, remember Frank Reich is a senior in Maryland. Engineered one of the greatest comebacks in the history of college football. Maybe he can do a 32-point comeback on.
I mean, it was certainly running through my mind. And that experience told me there's no reason why it can't be done.
Drops back in the pocket, sails it long, all Beebe at the 10, at the 5, in for the touchdown.
Then it just seemed like,
the dam broke. You got to give Frank Reich a lot of credit for not giving up, and the whole Buffalo team for not giving up.
He backs up, he looks, he throws, Reed, touchdown!
Great comeback in playoff history.
Bills can win it here. Reich puts it down. The kick is on the way, and it is good!
I'm just so proud. I'm so thrilled. This is the greatest moment of my life.
The comeback of the ages. Frank Reich makes this list just for one backup performance.
Frank Reich moved well up that list because of that game. I bet you he was in the number 15 or something as far as backup quarterbacks.
I mean, I know that there's some other backup quarterbacks that took their teams to Super Bowl, but knowing Frank and what he's accomplished as a player, he's number one in my eyes.
And now, the number 5 backup quarterback of all time, Don Strock.
He's a guy, to me, that was the quintessential backup quarterback. When he was born, he had a tiny little clipboard in the hospital put in his cradle.
In 16 years as an NFL quarterback, Don Strock started only 22 games. Nobody embraced the role of a backup more than number 5 on our list.
First of all, he had the best hand in the NFL. Really, he was George Hamilton before George Hamilton.
He was a footloose and fancy free type of guy. He did not have any worry when he put the ball in his hand.
Don Strock will be replacing injured legends Bob Greasy and Earl Morrall. But if there was any nervousness on the part of Strock, it never showed.
Don was as smart as any coach. In fact, he called a lot of plays.
Inside out, fullback stand. 67 out, inside out,
Shirley put his arm on my shoulder, and he'd say, and Strock would lean over and whisper in Shirley's ear, 70 halfback sure an option. Yeah, 70 halfback sure an option. A lot of plays got into the game that way.
Off the field, Strock did more for the Dolphins than just call plays. He also mentored a legend.
Don had already been the backup behind a number of quarterbacks. He realized that this is the finest quarterback that I've ever seen. And if I can help him, I'm glad to do it.
I asked him, if he can help me in any way, I'd appreciate it. He kind of took me under his wing and helped me a lot.
One thing that I told him was, I said, try to learn something new every day. Not only about football, but about life itself.
A lot of Dan's success goes to Don Strock. And I'm sure Dan would tell you the same thing, too.
During his 14 years in Miami, Strock turned into the game's premier reliever.
Strock is doing an outstanding job.
In 1981, Strock split time with David Woodley.
Yeah, of course, Wood-Strock together. That was a good one.
In the 1981 divisional playoffs, it was up to our number 5 backup to save his struggling counterpart.
Riding into the rescue was backup quarterback Don Strock. From the moment Strock entered the game, Miami was a completely different team.
Strock threw for more than 400 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Throw is Strock on third down, complete in the end zone, touchdown.
But the Dolphins lost 41-38 in overtime. After leaving the Dolphins in 1987, Strock was an assistant golf pro in 1988 when a rash of quarterback injuries in Cleveland forced him to trade his putter for a playbook.
Don Strock goes in the huddle. He'd been in Cleveland 2 days. He calls a play, ready, break, and the guy said, we don't have that play. And he says, run it anyway.
With a cheat sheet rigged to his left wristband, the Browns had gone from the youngest to the oldest starter in the league.
He looks like a golf pro. He's a little out of shape, a little soft, tanned, smiling, greatest guy in the world, and saved our season.
In the last week of the 1988 season, Cleveland needed to beat Houston to make the playoffs, and it was Strock who rallied the Browns to get the win.
Strock firing over the middle, Slaughter, touchdown! Unbelievable!
And you're thinking, wow, Don Strock, really? He led the Browns to the playoffs? Talking about, some of the best backup quarterbacks, I would put Don Strock up there for what he accomplished just that season.
The number 4 backup quarterback of all time, Jeff Hostetler.
You think of backups who took advantage of an opportunity, and Jeff Hostetler definitely comes to mind.
Comes in and actually leads them to a Super Bowl championship. Plus, he had a tremendous mustache.
His rookie year, when I'm the defensive coordinator, he throws the ball and he hits me right in the back of the head.
Hey! What's going on there?
And he's like, get out of the way. And I just lost it. Like, get out of the way. You can't throw it over me. I'm 5'10". why don't you go back to West Virginia?
Throughout the beginning of his career, our number 4 backup quarterback continued to struggle as a New York Giant.
Well, it was highly frustrating. Hostetler was playing behind a very good quarterback.
Stellar was starting to grow impatient. He wanted to do anything to get on the football field.
He played as a receiver, he played on the punt return team, he played on the punt team, all before he played quarterback.
1990 season, I've just had it. I remember coming home after Friday practice. No reps again. That's it. I'm done with football. I'm retiring. Sunday comes along, and all of a sudden, Phil goes down.
Sims is starting to limp off the field here. Now we'll get Jeff Hostetler.
But here I am, 6.5 years waiting for the opportunity. Right in front of me was the opportunity I've been waiting for.
If anyone had any doubts about our number 4 backup heading into the 1990 playoffs, it wasn't his teammates.
Oh, we got Haas. Let's go, Haas. It's your show.
A lot of guys kept thinking that Haas wasn't going to do it, a backup quarterback. He was like our secret weapon.
The next week, Hostetler would have to face the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions on the road in the NFC title game.
And when the 49ers and their fans found out that Jeff Hostetler was starting the game, that was going to be a slam dunk for San Francisco. Hey, back up. Why worry about this guy?
Our number 4 backup gave the 49ers plenty to worry about.
Niner fans cringe in pain. I can still see him converting that 3rd down pass at the end of the NFC Championship game to set up that winning field goal. It still hurts thinking about it.
Giants are trailing by a point. Spot. Kick is away. It's got the distance. It is good. Good.
And the Giants are going to Tampa Bay. They keep on telling me I can't, and I'm going to Super Bowl.
In Super Bowl 25, he should have been rendered unconscious. He was out. He was out.
You can give him smelling sauce and he don't even react to it, and he comes back out on the field. But he was a winner.
Career backup quarterback comes off the bench and quarterbacks his team to a Super Bowl victory.
You did it, man. Congratulations.
I think I thought of Jeff as a backup quarterback until he took us to the Super Bowl and played great during that stretch.
He took over a team and led them to 2 enormous upsets. You cannot do better than what Hostetler did.
Some signal callers are like fine wine. After a little time on the shelf, they get better with age.
You're so old, you gotta be dyeing your hair. I know you are.
These former backups may have both enjoyed a late career renaissance, but didn't make our list. Randall Cunningham spent 11 years in Philly, racking up the most rushing yards ever by a quarterback. But as Brad Johnson's backup in Minnesota, he was reborn as a pocket passer.
Had that Randall Cunningham been in Philly, Philly would have probably won a couple of Super Bowls.
Steve Young is your number 1. Steve Young is the greatest backup quarterback of all time. Yes!
Sorry, Mooch. Steve Young was a great heir apparent to Joe Montana, but when he won a Super Bowl, it was 4 years after becoming the starter. Another Bay Area quarterback won it as a backup twice.
The number 3 backup quarterback of all time, Jim Plunkett.
Jim Plunkett's career is marked by the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
The Patriots had just opened up a new stadium down in Foxborough. A lot of people thought, well, we got the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. We're on our way to success.
From Stanford, number 16, Jim Plunkett.
He was the number one pick, so he had to go to the worst team. And Jim is back there getting beat up all the time. Jim was losing his confidence, losing his swagger. So guess what? They trade him to a worse team.
Plunkett went to San Francisco looking for a fresh start, but all he got were fresh bruises.
Here you got a great quarterback with these 2 horrible teams in a row, and they're blaming him.
In 1978, Jim Plunkett, the one-time golden boy of football, was fired.
Talk about low points. Here I was, a first-round draft choice just 7 years earlier. I didn't know what to do with myself. Maybe I should quit football altogether.
And then Al Davis picks him up for a song. Jim comes over. He was on our bench.
I still felt I could play football, even though I was down in the dumps. All I needed is to be given another opportunity.
In 1980, opportunity knocked when starter Dan Pastorini broke his leg.
When Jim got his chance, that's when everybody realized how great of a player he was.
Rested and rejuvenated, he took a team that was faltering and turned them toward a title.
Plunkett came in, he was healthy, and he had an offense that suited his best skill, which is throwing the ball deep.
With Plunkett letting it fly, Oakland won 12 of their next 15 games, becoming the first wild card team ever to make a Super Bowl.
Touchdown Raiders! Holy Toledo!
On the game's biggest stage, the man who was a backup just 2 months earlier finally lived up to his Heisman hype.
Plunkett rolls on the move, and it's caught by King at the 40. Plunkett over the middle. He's got it. Touchdown Raiders! Plunkett thrown almost like a dart.
Plunkett's eating us alive.
It's a great feeling. Finally accomplished something that everybody who ever gets in the NFL wants to do.
This was the finest hour in the history of the Oakland Raiders.
The Raiders won it in '80. They thought that they had sort of had their run with Jim. He's the MVP. It's a great story, but you know what? We have to move on with the younger quarterback.
Plunkett had been benched once again, but you don't land this high on our list with just one Super Bowl run. In Week 10 of the 1983 season, starter Mark Wilson broke his shoulder, and guess who was ready to step in?
And they had to turn back to Jim Plunkett again. And he leads them back to another Super Bowl.
Plunkett looking at the end zone. Whips one. Touchdown Raiders! Plunkett really hung that one on a rail. It's all over, and the Raiders have dominated.
Plunkett is like Rocky Marciano. He's going to swing. He's going to swing. He's going to get hurt a little bit, but he'll eventually knock you out.
If success as a backup quarterback is measured by the number of different zip codes you have called home, these guys deserve a mention, just not a place on our list. Doug Flutie played for 5 teams during his 13-year career and won the hearts of Bills fans as Rob Johnson's backup.
Flutie, we love you!
Bubby Brister also called 5 different cities home during his 14 years in the league. The most fruitful stop, Denver, where he won 2 rings backing up John Elway.
Bobby, great job, partner. Great job.
The defining moment of Gus Frerott's 15-year career came at the expense of a sprained neck.
Watch this. Bang! Hits his head right into the cushion.
While Gus did play for more teams than any other player on our list, he doesn't boast the hardware of our number 2 backup.
The number 2 backup quarterback of all time, Earl Morrall.
Earl was perfectly suited to be a backup quarterback.
He had better success backing up these legendary quarterbacks like Unitas and Greasy than he did as a starter himself.
Morrall's early career was as a journeyman, bouncing between 4 teams in 12 years. By 1968, it seemed his football days were numbered when Colts coach Don Shula threw him a lifeline.
In the apparent twilight of a lackluster career, Earl signed with Baltimore as a backup to a legend, Johnny Unitas.
The Colts pick him up in '68, and when John Unitas gets hurt, there's a state of emergency in Baltimore. No one knows how serious it is.
There was a little of can Earl do it? Coming from another team, pick up the offense right away.
We're going this way, yeah. You're on the left. Okay, you're on the left.
And Morrall comes in and wins 15 games, takes him to the Super Bowl.
Morrall, an All-American from Michigan State, flashes fine form.
On his way to Super Bowl III, Morrall threw 26 touchdown passes and was named the NFL MVP.
This was the first time he'd really been surrounded by first-rate talent, and you saw what he was capable of when he got a chance to play with guys like that.
13 years, 13 is supposed to be unlucky, but this has been the luckiest for me, I can say that.
2 weeks later, it seemed Morrall's luck had run out.
Gets in the Super Bowl against the Jets. Has a terrible day. The ball wasn't going our way that day. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong for us.
Look at Morrall. He's disgusted.
He went from MVP to the GOAT of the Super Bowl, and the guy people still hold most responsible for the biggest upset in football history.
The New York Jets are the world champions.
And if that was where his career ended, it would have been really kind of sad.
Super Sunday, 1971.
2 years later, the Colts go back to the Super Bowl. Unitas gets hurt in the Super Bowl.
Go get it, Earl. Take
Morrill took over at quarterback and immediately began to move the ball against the Cowboys.
Earl Morrill comes off the bench and wins that game.
And the kick is up. The kick is good.
And the Baltimore Colts have won the Super Bowl.
At age 38, Morrill still wasn't finished. In 1972, he followed his old coach to Miami, where he would back up another Hall of Famer, Bob Greasy.
Nice shot, Earl. Mid-season, Earl. Okay, babe. Greasy got hurt in the 5th game of our perfect season. Earl comes on very calm and cool and collected, and everybody had confidence that he was going to make it happen for us, and he did.
Morrill led the Dolphins to 9 straight wins and was named AFC Player of the Year.
Morrill sets up. He is firing down the corner. Touchdown!
Then I had the decision to make as to who to start in the Super Bowl. And I went back to Greasy because he was now healthy.
Morrill was left watching from the sidelines as the Dolphins went on to win a championship.
The Dolphins have won Super Bowl VII and completed the greatest season in NFL history.
Greasy finished out the season. He got the credit for it. Earl didn't. He should have.
I don't think Earl Morrill gets the credit he should get.
I might even put Earl Morrill at number 1.
No one can compare to what Earl Morrill did. He's got a unique niche in pro football history and in sports history.
Now, you're going to talk to people maybe under the age of 30 who will say, Earl Morrill's too high. They don't know. Do the research. Earl Morrill belongs at number 1, end of story.
And now, the number 1 backup quarterback of all time, Kurt Warner.
I think Kurt Warner's a great pick for number 1.
I don't think Kurt Warner is a number 1 backup. I think Kurt Warner deserves to be in one of the number 1 quarterbacks of this decade.
If you're asking me what number 1 is, it has to be Kurt Warner. I mean, he took 2 nothing franchises, wound up going to 3 Super Bowls. Kurt Warner's the real deal.
Kurt Warner had to persevere to just be a backup quarterback in the NFL. The guy who stocked shelves, then he winds up on training camp with the Rams.
Kurt Warner was the new Will Fuhrer, who was the new Jamie Martin, who was the new T.J. Rubley. He was our scout team quarterback, and he was our guy that never gets in.
Well, in 99, Kurt was our backup.
Here's the thing. If Trent Green doesn't get hurt, maybe this whole thing never happens.
We got Trent Green down.
Your first thoughts are, oh my gosh, the season's over. We can't play without a quarterback.
Kurt Warner checks in.
There was thought whether we should go out and try to hire a veteran, and I decided no, that we would go with him.
We will rally around Kurt Warner, and we'll play good football.
Have a good one. Just stay within yourself.
Dick Vermeil would have told you at the time, they didn't know what was going to happen that year. And then all of a sudden, Kurt Warner is playing like he was in the Arena League.
Yeah, touchdown, Red!
Excellent throw by this Warner. And they win a game. Win another game.
What a pass by Kurt Warner.
Next thing you know, at the end of the season, Kurt Warner is holding up the Super Bowl MVP award.
Love you, Coach. I love you, too. Thanks for the team.
Warner would lose the Super Bowl to our number 9 backup in 2001. And by 2004, he was in New York, starting for the Giants and mentoring a rookie.
And they were 5-4 when Tom Coughlin pulled the plug.
He was unceremoniously benched for the kid who proceeded to lose 8 games in a row.
Another reason Warner is number 1 on our list, his actions after he lost his starting job.
Kurt Warner told Tom Coughlin, don't come back to me. The only way this works for the kid is if you put him in there and you let him play. Kurt Warner may be 1 in a million of guys who really would handle that situation with that much dignity and grace.
When Kurt Warner left us, did I think he was done?
I never thought he was done. But I didn't want him to go to Arizona because Arizona had always been a loser.
Warner was supposed to be nothing more than Matt Leinart's mentor in Arizona.
Don't worry about it.
But Leinart was injured, and our number 1 backup stepped in and flourished.
Oh, what a throw by Graybeard.
The job that was supposed to belong to the number 1 draft pick became property of our number 1 backup.
Warner looking end zone, and it's a touchdown.
Nobody else believed in me? You guys did, and we're going to the Super Bowl.
Warner led the Cardinals to their first Super Bowl in 2008.
The Cardinals lead Super Bowl 43.
But came up just short.
Almost. almost won. I would like to see him win another one.
How could anybody argue with a guy who's going to go to the Hall of Fame and played 3 superb Super Bowls?
You take a look at what he did with the moribund Rams and the fact that he took the freaking Cardinals to the Super Bowl. Kurt Warner, without a doubt.
The guy had 2 different careers. It kind of cemented his legacy. He'd have to be number 1 on my list.
I love this game.
So that's how this top 10 list shapes up. Love it or hate it.
Tom Brady, overrated.
Either way, the debate over number 1 rages on.
Of course, he's my roommate for 6 years, so I got to push Frank Reich, right?
I'm going to show loyalty to my guy. Earl is my number 1.
Show me another quarterback that could outplay Jim Plunkett. They can't.
You cannot do better than what Hostetler did.
You know, if you want to take winning percentages, a quarterback, okay? Tom Maddie should be there. I had 2 wins and a tie.
No matter how we rank them, it's pretty clear we'll never please everyone.
Come on, wake up. Smell the roses. Come on, do your homework.
My goodness gracious. I mean, do I have to tell NFL Films how to do all of this stuff? Who pays you guys?